I got the flow. I'm about to pull up. It's wishful kindness. And I've been waiting so long. Now I gotta resurface. And everybody talks all the bread and we burn it. Cause I've been feeling cool time. I've been fucking cool time. We're turning up.
Welcome to another episode, Mitten Say Sports Corner. I am Brett with one T.
I'm Brett with two T's.
And we have a special guest today for you. We have the X Factor, Evan from Illinois, who we had met at the last Michigan game here when we played Texas, although that was a tragic game to watch on the field. Brett actually had the pleasure of sitting with Evan and his family at the last game while I sat with my son, who is a State fan, which that, probably won't happen again. But we got to meet this awesome family, and we got Evan on, and he's an extremely, extremely knowledgeable, kid here. And so we figured we'd get his insight on this week's show. Welcome, Evan. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. All right, Brett, what you got for him?
All right, so obviously we talked a little bit before we started recording, so let's just run through yesterday's Michigan's, was it 28-18 win over Arkansas State?
28-16, I believe.
Yeah, so It was box score looks terrible. First half looked okay aside from Davis Warren.
Yeah.
But it's still just a team not trending in the right direction that you would like after the third game of the year.
Yeah, their defense kind of took their foot off the gas after halftime.
Oh, 1,000% they did. 1,000%.
Do you think that the Michigan struggles on defense, which I think that the players are there. They have a lot of talent on defense, especially their defensive line. They got Mason Graham, Kenneth Grant. They got some rotational. They got some linebackers that are absolute studs. I mean, Barnum is great. Hausman's great. You got TJ Guy on the line there. You get some names there. But do you think their struggles are more relevant to scheme, or do you think it's lack of talent that, we have a step down from what we had last year?
I think it's the step of talent because we lose a lot of players from our defense, and I think that's what causes us to not be as good as we were last year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely a talent drip, that's for sure.
Well, I mean, they lost a ton of players. I mean, it's almost unfathomable to think that there's not going to be some drop off. I guess I didn't expect it like this. I mean, we talked about this at the game yesterday, Brett, but I think a lot of their struggles personally are due to Martindale's scheme. And you mentioned it very well. It's a bend not break defensive scheme. So you got guys that are playing. They're not playing press coverage. They're playing soft. You've got guys that are playing zone a lot, and when they do play man, they blitz, so it's predictable. And you've got you don't have corners rushing. Those disguised defensive plays. You just don't. I don't know. It's almost like you don't see a lot of wrinkles, right? It's very much old school. Beat me at it, and teams are figuring that out pretty quick. I mean, it's kind of scary that, we're not even really in the meat of the schedule yet, and we've been exposed all three games to some degree.
And by lesser opponents, too, which is also that's the more concerning part, I'd say.
Yeah, for sure. I think that the biggest thing that I worry about, though, is, can they figure this out? Probably. I mean, they can. Do I think they will? No. No, I don't. I think they are what they are. I mean, now granted, turning over the ball on the 20, 30-yard line does not help your defense in any way, shape, or form. I mean, they're basically already giving up a field goal. And Warren did that three incompletions yesterday, and all three of them were actually to the other team. So technically, he completed all of his passes yesterday. They just went to the wrong darn team. And I don't know who the quarterback is of this team. I really don't. I expected to see Jack Tuttle yesterday. I don't know what happened, and I don't know who the quarterback is of this team anymore. I mean, Davis Warren can't play. I'm not saying he doesn't have it in
Yeah.
him, but he can't play going forward. I don't know what the deal is.
Evan, what did you think of Orgy when he got his shot yesterday?
I think, I mean, for the time that he was in, I think he did pretty good because instead of just running the ball every time like everyone would know he would do, he actually threw a couple passes and ended up working for a touchdown on that drive.
Well, and they switched it up a little bit as opposed to like that just up the middle they usually do with them. They spread it out. They did pitch plays. They did and that one touchdown pass he had. Obviously, that was a nice little crossing route screenplay where he rolled out and they thought he was going to run. Then he just flipped it over. You just got to spread them out. You can't just be so predictable with it. And that's obviously that was the issue in the Texas game when they tried him and week 1.
Yeah, but I think that not, but the stats for the running game yesterday, I think the running game was very solid because they pretty much carried their whole score.
Oh, yeah. Khalil Mullings is the number 1 running back, 1,000%.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think having Donovan Edwards as an RB2 is a problem.
No,
I think though. I agree. I think Orgy had his. He had that touchdown pass, which is great. He did have a ball that had he completed, it was a touchdown. He oversailed a tad, but other than that, I mean, he did what you kind of expected. He handed the ball off and/or ran it himself. I think I saw he had 3 rushes for 27 yards. I think it was.
Yeah,
so that's a solid average. But
the
defenses have to respect him as a runner. They know he can run. He's proven that. There's no doubt. Where teams are gonna beat us if he plays quarterback is, can he beat us through the air? And he doesn't have to throw for 300 yards, but he does need to be able to get a crucial third down, or hit a good post route, or something late in the fourth quarter. Like, he's gonna have to be able to hit those clutch throws, and the minute he can prove that he can do that like somewhat consistently, this offense changes completely. But until he can do that, I don't know if we know who the quarterback is.
Like, get us 15 to 20 pass attempts and complete 60% of them.
Yeah.
That's it.
I was looking for that to happen yesterday.
That's really... There was a couple times he did drop back the pass, and obviously the O-line didn't really help him.
No.
But, no, I definitely thought, like, they needed to give him... We said this a few times on the drive home, where we were watching the game, and it was just like, you need... Like, you're up. Give them the chance to try and throw the ball. Like, you're up, and this is where you get the reps to try it, not in practice. Like, get the game reps in. Let them try to throw it downfield. Like, especially with how this team has started the season, you need these in-game reps. Just because you're up a decent amount, you don't coast. Like, you need to improve because you've struggled to start the year, and you haven't had games where you were able to take your foot off the gas and get the others in. So that was the one thing I didn't agree with yesterday, because you could tell they did take their foot off the gas. They obviously took their defense off, first defense off the field, and they ended up scoring those 2 garbage time touchdowns, which made this score a lot closer than it actually was.
Yeah. Well, and then Arkansas State missed 2 field goals, right? Hit 2 off the iron. I mean, that's scary close for an Arkansas State game, for God's sakes.
And something that I know not many Michigan fans and me were pretty not happy about was when Colson Loveland got hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And then they brought him back out in the second half, and the first play he goes down again. Like, if he was that sensitive, he should have never been back out there to begin with.
Yeah, that coaching staff's going to get...
Hopefully it's not too long of an injury.
Exactly.
He's one of our best offensive players.
Oh, it's no doubt. He is the best offensive player.
If it comes out this week that he's out for a few weeks,
we're losing USC.
Them putting them back in the game just for that one play to get hurt even more is going to look so bad on that coaching staff. Because that's a coaching staff decision.
Yes.
For sure. Sometimes you got to save players from themselves. I mean, they're competitors. They want to be out there. I mean, we can attest to this as athletes in our past, right? Like, it's in there, and it should be in there. But sometimes you have to realize the moment. I mean, if this was the Ohio State game,
yes,
I'm fine with that. Go out and play the game. Go out, and you know what? If you tear your shoulder all the way and it was only partially torn, I'm sorry, but at the end of the day, you're still getting surgery. So I understand it. But if you're risking Colson Lovin for the season in week 3 against Arkansas State, I have a major problem with that.
Yes, it's not.
Yeah, that would not be worth it.
I will say though the replacements yesterday filled in fairly admirably.
That backup tight end looked pretty good.
Hansen looked good. Klein.
Yeah,
Klein looks really well. He's a big body, so I do know we have some depth there. We've got Zach Marshall, who they recruited. He's a really solid, but he's young. He's a freshman. So they got some depth pieces there, but man, you can't lose an All-American.
I just don't understand. They were up 21-3 at that point. They just came out of halftime. It's a shoulder. You don't mess around with shoulders, especially for a tight end where they're designed to take a ton of contact. Yeah, you're up 21-3 at that point. Just take him out.
Yeah.
You got USC next week. You got Oregon coming after that.
Yeah. It's just get him healthy.
He's your best offensive player, so you might as well save him.
Protect him.
If you were to ask yourself, or we were to ask you, Evan, let's say, who is the starting quarterback going forward? What's your answer?
That's a tough one. I don't think it's Davis Warren. He hasn't been doing very well.
Yeah.
But if they can use Orgy in a way where they can throw and pass with them instead of just running, I think he could be pretty solid.
They need to create a good playbook this week where they do give him some very favorable throwing plays that it doesn't take him out of his element too much, where it kind of fits his mold more. Where because he's got good feet, he rolls out and then he hits someone crossing or something like that. You got to give him more plays like that. He's not an in the pocket passer, which you can tell. He's obviously a mobile, so get him mobile.
Right.
But get him mobile in a way where he could still throw the ball. So I think that's got to be the task this week, because I agree. I think it's got to be Orgy at this point. It's got to be. If they trot Davis Warren out next week first series, because we're going to be in the game, it's not going to be pretty.
That whole stadium is going to likely boo the whole entire team, which is something that you don't need for a USC first stripeout game. But I agree. They rolled Davis Warren out there with his 6 interceptions in 3 weeks. I don't know if they survived that game. To be honest with you,
they obviously his total stat is 6 interceptions in 3 games, but if in all actuality, it was 6 interceptions in 2.5 games.
Yeah, which is scary.
And obviously 2 of those games are against low opponents, and his highest interception total was against the lowest opponent you've had.
Yeah, you're a quarterback, Evan, right? That's what you play.
Yes.
So in the event that you threw 6 interceptions, it might be a little different, but you throw 6 interceptions in 3 weeks, how do you think your coach is feeling about putting you out there next week?
I don't think they'd be very happy. And I think they would take you out, put the next person that steps up.
For sure. And so I think I asked you this before, but do you consider yourself a mobile or a pocket passer type of quarterback?
I consider myself a mobile quarterback.
Yeah. That's modern quarterback now is mobile.
Yeah.
Everyone's got to be an athlete.
Yeah. At least be serviceable back there, I would say, at minimum, as far as run the game goes. So as far as the the Michigan team goes, the USC game's a big one. I mean, this is really where you're going to find out, I think. I find out who they are. I mean, they got mollywopped by Texas. Again, they're national title contenders. So, you go out and lose to USC, and I say that the rails have officially come off.
Mm-hmm.
They go out and beat USC. I feel a lot differently about this team. I'll tell you that much.
They'll definitely give them a good confidence going the second half of the year. But USC's come out of this season surprising a lot of people that they are a lot better than people thought they were going to be.
They look real good.
So that's what I'm nervous about.
What are your thoughts on USC, Evan?
One thing I don't think that Caleb Williams deserved for USC is to get his number retired.
Thank you.
He didn't do a lot.
Yeah. To lose
the only reason he was scouted number 1 for the draft is because of what he did in high school and how good he was scouted.
Mm-hmm. And Lincoln Riley. Lincoln Riley puts quarterbacks in the league, and I think people thought, well, he's a Lincoln Riley product. He's got to be awesome. And they really haven't done much. Most of his guys haven't done a ton in the league.
Well, he was tabbed as like the number 1 overall pick of his draft class when he first came out in that game when he was at Oklahoma.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
So he was labeled as the number 1 overall pick for years.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Evan said, in college he didn't really do much. Like
They put up big numbers, but like they lost big games.
His team sucked.
They lost big games, and like he couldn't find a way to finish it. So I agree with him. I don't think he really showed me much to be the number 1 overall.
Never win like top 10, top 25 games.
No, ever. I mean, it's just interesting to me that that's how that went down. But he's now quarterback of your Chicago Bears, so I guess you get to continue to deal with him. So we'll see what happens. But
yeah. Hopefully he picks up the pace and does better than he did week 1.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously making those a competitive game will be good, so I'm hoping that, for your guys' sake that happens. I guess, looking around the league, so, yesterday, obviously we talked about Michigan. Texas clobbered UTSA. Big surprise there.
Oh, but Quinn Ewers got hurt.
And Arch Manning came to play.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, and he did really well, as expected, against his lesser opponent. But really nice to see him play. But that's going to be a situation to monitor going forward. Any thoughts on that?
We're going to take a quick moment here to honor our sponsors of today's episode. So we're going to start with Crystal Fieldhouse over in Burton, Michigan. It is our home of Beer League Sundays. If you ever want to do a birthday party, you want to do some public skates, some stick and puck, join an adult hockey league, get into some youth hockey league, or do some figure skating, go see Crystal Fieldhouse in Burton, Michigan. We thank you to Michelle for sponsoring us this coming year, and look for our smiling faces on some banners on both rinks this year.
Thank you to FiberLink Communications in Lapeer, Chad, Debbie, Tina, Joel, and the rest of the crew. Thank you so much. M&M4 Properties, Marco, Marissa, Martino, thank you so much for all your support. DCC Construction, thank you so much for your support. We really appreciate it. And also Winged Helmet Media, thank you, Chris, for being a part of this, man, and we're really looking forward to doing some things with you in the future. So, thank you all.
No, I just think if Quinn Ewers doesn't end up playing next game, and Arch Manning can show how good he is and do solid and have a couple touchdowns, maybe stuff like that, I think he might be able to take the spot if he's good enough.
I agree. What's concerning was Quinn Ewers' injury. It looked like it was a non-contact injury.
That's always
that
concerning.
was the concern, because they showed the replay of it, and he just handed the ball off, and then they just panned to him, and he's just down on the field, and they said it was an abdomen. So I don't know what the hell happened.
Well, like those core muscle injuries, they put guys out for the season. Arch Manning finished 223, 4 touchdowns. Pretty expected as far as production goes. I was a little surprised that Alabama clobbered Wisconsin yesterday when Wisconsin was at home. I expected Alabama to win, but I don't know that I expected them to win 42-10.
Yeah,
I mean, that's kind of concerning.
I expected it to be a lot closer.
Yeah, and another one that kind of shocked me, and more for how close it was, Missouri and Boston College. And Boston College had a chance to win that game. I can't believe Boston College, how good they are this year, and it's really awesome to see. But that was a close game. Oregon beat the pants off Oregon State. They looked a lot better than they've looked in weeks past, so that's concerning for Michigan.
That's a rivalry game. So
I can't believe Florida State's 0-3.
I love it, though.
I can't believe it either, but I think it's fantastic.
Marcus
Freeman is going to get fired.
Marcus Freeman is Notre Dame. You're thinking about
or that's not what.
Who is Florida State?
Florida State. I'm sorry, Mike Norvell. I don't know why I said Freeman. Mike Norvell is going to get fired, because I'm telling you this right now, with all the stuff that he made last year, the big scene he made about how good his team was and how they deserved to be there, and then he had some opt-outs, some injuries, whatever. But then they go and play Georgia and get the absolute pants smacked off of them.
They literally lost by 60 points.
They got smoked, and it wasn't even like, all right, they got beat by 15 or 20, but a couple plays here, there, or a couple players that they would have played, like you could maybe put it together where you're like, maybe they can make the game closer. They were nowhere near them.
That was such a weird matchup, though, because you had Georgia you had two teams super mad that they didn't make the playoff because Georgia definitely could have. They definitely had a case to make it, and then obviously Florida State had a bigger case to make it.
Yep.
So obviously a lot of Florida State players are like, well, no, I'm not playing. And then you get Georgia where it's just like, nah, we're going to go and show that, yeah, we should have been there.
For sure.
So Florida State got the bad end of the stick on that one.
But what's worse about this week specifically is like coming out of those two losses, you went into a bye week, you had an early bye week. Like that week should be the week where, these, I'm unfortunately sorry to say, but they're getting their butts beat in practice. Like, I'm sorry, but you're going to have the worst couple weeks of practice of your lifetime until we can figure this out. And there was video reports of these guys having water gun fights at practice.
Yeah, I saw that.
And again, I'm not here to say these guys can't have fun, right? They're still kids to a degree, like they are. I mean, they're young adults and kids. Like I'm understanding of that, but not from an 0-2 team that has championship aspirations, and getting beat by who you got beat by. Like that's a time to figure it out. And looks like they're still screwing around. So that almost speaks to a cultural problem. And, you have to wonder what Florida State's thinking going forward. I mean, it's just incredible to me that they've lost all three of their games. I mean, it's tough.
Is it a football drill to possibly do that? And we just don't know?
Water guns?
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
not at all.
I mean, that was the only benefit that was like maybe that's a drill that they were working on. It wasn't, and they're obviously media's just getting a great narrative out of it. But yeah,
I don't think that's a football drill. I think that's a football bypass. Like it's just it's crazy. Like it's absolutely crazy. Again, they didn't even lose anybody big. I mean, it's
Georgia
amazing.
Tech.
It's amazing to me that they're this bad. Like I expected some turnover, just like Michigan, right? Like I expected them to be worse, but
they brought in DJ Ukulele.
That's why. That's because they have a quarterback that hasn't produced anywhere. It doesn't matter where he's been bad. Even at Clemson, he was bad.
Yeah, he's never really been good.
And he had an okay season at Oregon State, I guess, but yeah, he hasn't done much. Unfortunately, our counterparts in Lansing.
I was just going to bring them up because I was hanging out with our hockey buddy last night, who was a Michigan State fan, and he was just like, Michigan State's 3-0, Michigan's only 2-1. I'm like, yeah, that one loss to possibly the number one team in the country because obviously Georgia didn't look the best last night, and Texas honestly has the better resume to this point.
Absolutely. They got a good ranked win on the road.
But then he was talking a little smack about the 3-0. So then we looked at their schedule. They're going to be 3-3.
Who do they play next?
Boston College, Ohio State, Oregon in back-to-back weeks.
They're going to get beat.
Oh, they're losing the next three.
Are they playing at home to Boston College?
No, they go to Boston College.
Ugh, that's going to be a tough game. I tell you what,
that's
though.
not good.
They definitely.
And they go to Oregon, too.
There's a chance you could look. No, look at that. There's a chance they could come out of this 3-5.
Yeah, because
like Boston College,
Iowa and Michigan after.
Yep, Iowa and then Michigan right after. I mean,
they're going to lose the Rutgers game. Rutgers is decent.
Yeah, but even said, I will tell you, though, as much as I don't want to admit it, State is better than last year, obviously. I mean,
you couldn't get as bad. So
yeah. But I'm not going to talk about Michigan State because we're not Michigan State fans.
I did just want to bring up, because obviously he was definitely talking smack last night of well, Michigan's 2-1, blah blah blah. And I was like, all right, well, let's see what's happening. I was like, you played Prairie View A&M in Florida Atlantic,
and
I don't
barely
hear
beat
it.
Florida Atlantic. Let's be
honest. I was like, I don't want to hear it.
But we don't got any room to talk either. Our team's terrible this year.
Yeah. And then we looked at their next 3 games, and he's like, yeah, never mind. He stopped talking after that.
We do come down to Champaign, though, October 19th, Michigan does, I think?
Yes.
They come down to Champaign. So are you going to the game?
Yeah, I believe we are.
You are, okay. Excellent. Are you, or do you guys regularly attend Illinois games, or just when Michigan comes to town?
We did have season tickets, but we didn't end up getting them this year because of how expensive the parking was.
Okay. What do you guys think?
We go to a few here and there.
in the Illinois area. What do you guys think of the job that Brett Bielema has done?
I mean, it hasn't been bad. It hasn't been great.
Illinois has never been like that big program either, so He's been
They've
serviceable.
always been like in the middle.
Yeah. So he's been serviceable.
You
that's
took
for sure.
Michigan right down to the wire 2 years ago. I tell you what, Jake
Yeah.
Moody saved our
That was
season.
a good Illinois team, though.
Saved our season
Mhm.
that year because that was scary. I mean, I remember literally screaming at my TV, jumping in the living room, and I was, and of course Blake Corum's out, right? Like you couldn't
that's when
rely
he
on
tore
that.
his ACL.
So he tore, yeah, and then you're like, we could lose this game, which would like this is not the game on the schedule that I expected to lose. And Illinois played an awesome game at home, right? Like it was just very well done. That was their best team I can remember them having in at least a decade, by far, truthfully.
So I got a funny joke right now.
Okay.
So Evan, you said you're probably going to the Michigan Illinois game in a few weeks.
Yes.
So you're going to be our Connor Stallions, and we want detailed notes. Yeah, we want detailed notes in an email after the game of how this team looked.
Also, we need to grow a mustache in a couple weeks. We're expecting you to have a big noticeable mustache, and maybe you should put a CMU jacket on. What do you think?
Just yeah. So that
Honestly, Illinois, they've always been like hit or miss. Either they're very good or they're very average.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm pulling them up right now. They are 3-0 to start the year, though.
Who have they played though?
That's where I'm getting at. Eastern Illinois. They beat Kansas. I forgot they did beat Kansas, and Kansas is decent.
They just lost last night again.
Oh, did they? Never mind.
They did. They're 1-2, I think. You know, LSU
Whoops.
snuck a win out last night over South Carolina. I can't believe that. God, I was hoping that they lost that game.
Well, there was on that pick six, like late in the game, they got called back because of that unnecessary roughness
That was
on the block.
ridiculous.
That was a terrible call.
That was a freaking gimme. Like that. That was bothersome.
The play's already going back up the field. It was because it was the quarterback that he.
Well, absolutely is
pushed.
because of the quarterback. I mean, there's no other reason why you do that. So yeah, I mean, what do you think? I mean, as far as Michigan, we touched on this a little bit earlier, but what is the I guess your opinion on how the offensive line, defensive line, and/or defense in general, and special teams? Like, do who was your out of those three? Who was your star unit? Who was your maybe needs improvement or was not, maybe was a dud? And was there one play that stood out to you yesterday? Well, I'll refer to you on that, Evan.
There wasn't really any star plays that really stood out to me. I mean, maybe that interception in the end zone, but other than that, there was really no other star plays.
Yeah, and as far as the what grade would you give the offense yesterday if you were to go A to E?
I'll say a B because of their running game.
I would say the running game saves it for sure.
Mullings did have a great day. I mean, I think he had 3 30-yard runs. That's pretty impressive. I mean, he gives me Hassan Hoskins vibes so much. He's a very powerful runner. Donovan Edwards, I will tell you, did have a couple of better runs yesterday.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say there. I don't know. I think I give the offense a C-. And I say that.
I was going to go C+.
I think that the running game was very beneficial or, was very awesome. It really looked good. But I think the rest of the offense looks so bad that it's like, I just don't have the confidence. I mean, the passing game, for the most part, was no good.
Well,
It was no good. I mean, they had a couple of plays that he made. Like, he had good completions, but they didn't do anything.
Well, some of the receivers' names that we haven't heard all year finally showed up yesterday. So, like Frederick Moore, his name finally got popped up, and he made a couple good catches. And aside from all three of those interceptions were on Davis Warren. You can't tell me otherwise. They tried to say his arm was tipped on one of them. It's just like, no. He missed him so bad.
There's no contact on that.
Thank you. I was going to say, like, they showed the replay like 3 times. Like, no.
Yeah. And I can appreciate Davis Warren's story, right? Like the battle with leukemia and coming back and playing Division I football. Like that, all of those things are amazing, right? And to be able to be even a step on that field, to me, and I can appreciate the heck out of that, and I think that that he's definitely got a really awesome story. I really do. At the end of the day, like, this is a results-driven business, and the results are not there. That's just the facts, and they're not. And so, it's time to give another guy a shot. And, my internal mind says Jack Tuttle because he's got 7 years essentially in college football. He wasn't a star at Indiana.
Super senior.
But I think he could manage the game a little better maybe. But he does not have the threat. Like, he's not going to run the ball. Orji can run the ball. So I think, again, if Orji can prove he can throw it, you'd have to go that route. But I think until he proves he can throw, you almost have to go Tuttle, right? Like, it's just really strange. But I can tell you either one of them is not going to be Davis Warren, in my opinion.
I think, like, Orji and Tuttle, I think they'll work on it in practice, and the coaches will watch, maybe have a QB battle, see who is better.
Yeah.
Tuttle is definitely, if he's good to go, he's definitely, even though it's a tough game to throw him out there, but he's definitely got to get some looks next week.
For sure. Absolutely he does.
Yeah.
One thing I'm nervous about, though, and they didn't look good again yesterday, and obviously we have a very good quarterback coming in next week, is obviously the secondary. They were able
Secondary was not very good.
Yeah, and they were able to throw the ball on him again yesterday, and it's like, oh boy, here we go again.
I just don't know why Jair Hill is still starting.
Yeah, he's so bad.
I advocated for him from what
You
I
did.
heard and read and all these things, and he was my guy, right? I picked him. But I got to be honest with you, he has not lived up to those expectations this season, and it hasn't even been against good competition.
I definitely do think, like we talked about it a little bit yesterday, I definitely do think it is a little scheme-based for sure.
Because Will Johnson's looked pedestrian at times this year, and so it's like...
Well, what was that one play where they had, like, it was an incomplete pass down the sideline, but it was 40 yards down, and it was a linebacker in coverage, 40 yards downfield. Like,
I don't know
how does that happen?
There's no reason you should have Jashawn Barnum chasing a wide receiver down the sideline for 40 yards. Although it wasn't completed yesterday, it's going to be completed in the future when you play somebody that has a quarterback. Like, I don't recall a time.
Yeah, and then that's just going to hurt him.
Yeah, I don't recall a time Mike McDonald or Jesse Minter's defense had that very often, if they did, right? Like that, you didn't see that. And it's to me, the scheme is just different. And different is okay when it works, but it's not working. And that's the problem, is you have to be willing to adapt and change. And I don't know. I'm a little concerned, but I guess it's something we're going to have to see, unfortunately. I don't think the defense played that great. I really don't. I think
the front
line seven
did good.
Front seven played pretty decent, but like I said, the back half was not great. But I don't know.
No, not at all.
Again, I think they've got enough talent on the team that they can turn it around. I do. I think that seeing Georgia, get have a close game with Kentucky, I think that's good for Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
That good teams can have bad games. Oregon struggled the first couple weeks, but boy, they got to figure it out in a hurry. And this week, really, I think is kind of that turning point of the season. If they go out and have a good game, win the game, they can do it. If they go out and lose, or especially lose convincingly, I think the wheels fall off.
Mm-hmm.
To be totally honest with you.
Yeah, it's not looking pretty. If we go out and Larry put up a performance like it did against Texas, it's not going to be bad. Going to be good.
Now we do know a couple things here. Brett has a opinion, if you will. Now yesterday we were at the Michigan tailgate and we went over to the golf course, and Connor Stallions was signing autographs at the golf course for $125. First of all, that's ridiculous.
Why is he getting celebrity status?
He shouldn't be.
Larry, why? He's put such a sore spot on an amazing sequence of seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Because now nobody really truly gives Michigan credit for those 3 great seasons that they had, because all they think about is Connor Stallions and what he pulled. And now he's getting the celebrity treatment. It's just like, how as a Michigan fan, you look at him and you're like, oh no, he's okay.
Cool. Well, as far as he decided to defend himself or his honor or whatever, the program, instead of doing it the right way, doing a press conference or whatever. No, he's going to go and do a Netflix documentary. That's just, to me, that shows you don't care. And all you've done is continue to make a sore spot. So I don't want to talk about it that long because I don't want to give him more publicity. But Brett makes it's crazy. There's no way in hell I'm paying $125 for his signature at all. Quite frankly, I'm not paying for his signature. I don't want I don't want to talk to him.
No, not
I
at
don't
all.
forgive him. I don't forgive him for what he's done as far as making, like, you can make your case for did it, he didn't do it, doesn't, I don't even care. I don't appreciate the cloud that has been over the program because of him, and he continues to make it a reoccurring thing and continues to exploit it for his own benefit. Like, I'll never forgive him for that, and I don't want to shake his hand. So we will move on from that because, again, I don't think anybody here cares. But
No.
what I know, we've got some trivia lined up
let's
here.
hear it.
I know that Evan's got a couple questions that he's got for Brett here. So
He's coming for payback because I stumped him last
you
week.
did, and I don't win trivia, so I fully expect to not get any of these. But I am really hoping to see Brett get beat because all he does is talk crap about how bad I am at trivia.
Well, you are bad.
Okay, let's see what you got, Evan. I hope you get him.
All right. My first one. What president played football for the University of Michigan?
Oh, Gerald Ford.
That's an easy one. Gerald Ford.
All right. What year did the big house finish being built?
Oh.
I'm going to go with 1894.
It's early 1900s.
It's a little bit younger than that.
Fair enough. I don't really know.
It's early 1900s. I know
Okay.
that.
I thought it was late 18, early 19.
It's plastered in the stadium. I've seen it.
It probably is. This is not my strong suit, so Brett, you better get
Why
it for
is
us.
1904 coming to mind?
Nope, it's younger than that.
Really?
What's the answer?
1927.
Yowza. I was off by 30 years.
All right.
Um,
What is Michigan's team record for most rushing attempts in a single game?
Oh,
Rushing
God.
attempts. Yowza. That's
Is
a
it
doozy.
not Penn State last year?
No, not at all. 1972 Rose Bowl.
Whoa.
Dude, were your parents even born yet when that game went down? And you're asking those questions. I was hoping I was going to get questions like in your lifetime because you're like, what, 13? So like,
Yeah.
like 2010
No,
to now?
he
I
got
thought
you.
I was
He
going to get
pulled
some of
out-
those.
He pulled out the archives
God.
and literally laid waste to you on freaking TV. I love it. I got to tell you, I'm gonna take a stab at it just because I have zero idea. Record rushing attempts. I mean, I think I'm gonna go with 68.
Oh, you're close. Just a little bit more.
74.
Correct.
What? Come on.
I
You're welcome for giving you a
Yeah,
benchmark
you-
to start
you-
with.
you put when you said you're close, I'm like, all right, we got
All
this.
right.
What game was that?
He said the Rose Bowl.
Oh,
1970.
that's right.
1972 Rose Bowl against Stanford.
Okay.
All right, we'll do a really easy one here.
Ah,
What Michigan athlete won the Heisman Trophy following the 1997 season?
He's got his own bourbon.
Charles Woodson.
Good old Charles. Good old
Yep.
Charles.
All
Let's.
right, we'll do a fun fact here.
All right.
Did you know ticket sales for one home game today generate like approximately 5 times the actual cost of building their original stadium?
What's the number on it? Do you know?
No, I believe I don't exactly remember what I was. I saw it. but
Yeah. That's pretty incredible to think about. I mean, obviously with, the way that cost of everything has changed,
Yeah.
but that's pretty incredible to hear that it's 5 times per home game. That's an intriguing fact.
Yeah.
I like that. Brett, do you have a question for Evan?
I'm thinking of something.
So no, you don't have
I
a
got
question for
something.
Evan. Okay, got it.
I
Evan, do you
got
have
something.
another fun fact for Brett? Because he's
So-
old and can't remember.
So Michigan played in back-to-back Rose Bowls in 2005 and 2006, I believe. No, it wasn't back-to-back. There was a gap year, but
Okay.
Michigan played in the Rose Bowl in 2005 and then again in 2007. What two teams did they play?
Let me see if I have it in my notes.
He's prepared. I like it.
Hmm.
Do you know it?
No.
Oh, okay.
I feel like I know one of them,
You should.
but I don't know for sure. Washington.
No.
I have something in here about the Rose Bowl, so let me look.
There's
They beat Nebraska,
no.
They tied Nebraska 97.
They lost.
Right?
They lost the 2005.
2007 was USC. I just don't know what 2005 was.
So you're right. You're right about 2007. So yeah, 2007 was USC. They had that.
Nice.
It was that year that they actually went into Columbus. They were both undefeated for the first time, and they lost that close game. And they got the Rose Bowl against USC and lost. So they finished the season 11-2. But the 2005 Rose Bowl is the first iteration of Vince Young in the Rose Bowl.
Oh yeah,
They lost in the last second field goal.
Wow, it's crazy to think it's been that long.
Vince Young ran all over them.
Vince Young ran all over everybody.
But that's when Braylon Edwards is around, and
Yeah, he did.
yeah, and Braylon Edwards had a game too.
Yeah.
Let's see.
What? Let me ask you this. I don't have any luck with trivia, but the Tigers have made a run to the playoffs here as the season winds down. They're chasing the wild card. They're chasing the Minnesota Twins. Do you watch any Tigers baseball at all?
A little bit.
Are you a Chicago Cubs or White Sox fan? I hope you're not a White Sox fan.
I'm a Cubs fan.
That's fair.
There
I
we
would
go.
much rather you be a Cubs fan. Wrigley is considerably better, and they're just a better team. Okay, so if you're a Cubs fan, then how do you feel about your team this year?
How are they doing?
What?
I said, if you're a Cubs fan, how do you feel about your team this year?
I feel like we've done pretty good. Start of the season, we started good, but then we kind of had a slump, had a lot of losses, but I think we pulled up and turned on the gas.
Yeah. Well, and they're above 500,
Oh,
so
yeah,
that's
they're in
good. I mean, they're definitely in it, but that's good to see. I think they're a similar team to the Tigers. I think that they can make the run. But it's definitely interesting. They're
6 out.
6 out. It's a tough gap to bridge.
Yeah,
but
That's a big hill to
tough
climb.
chance.
they'd have to really kick on the gas, and I think Atlanta would really have to stumble, which I don't know if it's going to happen, but definitely something to monitor for sure. All right, so we're going to wrap up here now. Evan, are you planning on attending more Michigan games this year, as far as at Michigan Stadium?
I'm not, but my parents are going to Michigan versus Oregon.
Michigan versus Oregon. Okay. All right.
Oh yeah, they did say that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
they did mention that
Cool.
last week. I do
Well, we
remember
got.
I'll leave you guys with one more fun fact
All
here.
right. Good. All right.
that. Let's
go
hear
ahead.
him.
The first team captain for Michigan was Dave Bitar. He was part of the 1879 Michigan team.
Nice.
Oh.
Did you play against him by chance, or just curious?
Yeah, I played against
Yeah.
him.
I'm sure you showed him up.
I just thought of a question from because he's throwing 1800s at us. I got one from 1800s.
Oof.
So Michigan had one of Michigan's first football coaches. Who was it? And he currently has an arena named after him in the Michigan Athletics.
Department.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So who was that coach?
Mm,
He was a football coach. Now he's got an arena in the Michigan Athletics Department named after him.
mm.
You know who it is?
Pfizer.
No.
That's basketball.
No.
No.
That's hard.
It is hard.
Let's see.
I wasn't around a ton in the 1800s, so I got to tell you, I don't really know a ton from that era. So I'm going to defer to Brett, who apparently was around at that time.
You're going to kick yourself when I say it
Probably.
because you know it. We were just talking about it
Can you give me
yesterday.
a first name?
Fielding.
Yost.
Fielding Yost.
Fielding Yost.
He was one of the first Michigan football coaches. Now the hockey arena is named after him.
That's awesome. Do you
Oh, wow.
do you guys go to any additional Michigan events, like as far as hockey games or lacrosse or any other
We've
events?
gone to a couple baseball games,
Cool. Okay.
and we go to basketball games sometimes.
Michigan baseball's been doing well the last few
Yeah,
years.
they have.
Yeah,
They made it
have
all the way
been.
to Omaha a couple years ago, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, they did, and then they lost their coach.
Mm-hmm.
Kinda
Yeah, they
sucked.
did.
All right. Well, hey, Evan, I appreciate you coming on, man. It's always cool to hear from you. Your insight to sports
Yeah,
at your
thank you
young
for
age
having
is is quite impressive, and we really appreciate talking with somebody that that can have some insight like you can. And it was a pleasure to meet you and your family at the last game. We look
Yes, of
forward to
course.
seeing you guys, and like I said, hopefully we can come down and check you out too.
Mhm.
Hopefully sometime soon. But otherwise, I would say way to beat Brett on trivia. So I'm going to definitely mark this moment down, and maybe this is the last time it happens.
We'll definitely have you back on very, very soon as well.
For sure, buddy. For sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming on,
No
dude.
problem. Otherwise, it's another episode of Mitten State Sports Corner. Again, we've had our guest, Evan, from Illinois. We've got Brett, number 2, the less cool one. And then we've got myself, Brett, with 1 T, obviously slightly cooler. Looking forward to talking with you guys at the next Michigan home game. Have a great week.